Hey everybody, this is Russ from Retro Game Core. So believe it or not, this YouTube channel has been around for over a year and a half at this point. And I have learned a lot of things along the way. Like I've mentioned before, I do not have a background in tech at all. I've basically been learning all this stuff as I go. And in addition to figuring out how emulation works in the first place, I've also been dabbling a little bit with the development side too. Mostly, I like to work with developers in customizing the configurations and then helping to promote their products. But lately, I've also been thinking about game development too. Some longtime viewers may remember that last year, over a holiday weekend, I worked on a Peak 08 game called Bear Me. And I only got the first demo done, but the idea behind Bear Me is that it's going to be about a bear in the army whose name is Jeremy, and he basically is fighting against other animals. I never really got to the enemies part, but I at least had a little bit of a backstory there with Bear Me itself. And that whole experience was a lot of fun, and it got me to think about game development a little bit more seriously. And so I decided to put those new skills to the test and also kind of combine it with my love for retro gaming. And of course, my favorite system of all time is the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, I have a lot of favorites when it comes to NES games, but my number one favorite of all time is Super Mario Bros. 2. That was the one game that really opened up my eyes to the world of gaming. And because of Mario 2, I've had a love for platformers my whole life. And so I decided to develop my own NES platformer. And at the same time, I thought a lot about the fact that Nintendo never really finished up their catalog when it came to the NES. You know, we have Mario 1 and then Mario 2, but then it just jumps to Super Mario World, and that never really made a lot of sense to me. Thematically, it seems like there should be a game in between Mario 2 and all of its weirdness, and then Super Mario World in its whole exploration aspect. And so I decided to tackle that problem head on. And so, over the past few months, I've been developing my own sequel to Super Mario Bros. 2. And it's a little cliche, but the title I came up with is Super Mario Bros. 3. This is a brand new game that I created for the NES that I'm making available for everybody in the world starting today. And so in this video, I want to show you a little bit about how the whole development process worked and some of the features that you'll find in this new game developed by me. Now, I could talk about this game all day long, but I think I'm going to let the game speak for itself. And so, without any further delay, let's check it out. Okay, first thing you might be wondering is how do you develop games for the NES in 2022? Well, you need a dev kit, and luckily Nintendo's been super cool about this and they actually sent me this one out here. Turns out they're really big into game preservation and sharing IP. Now this is a brand new dev kit. I'm the only one that has this version right here, and it's running the latest Intel chip. It's called the Potato Lake, and it runs at a clock speed of 18.5 gigahertz and is delicious when paired with Kerrygold butter. Now, when coming up with the theme of the game itself, I had a lot of ideas. Initially, I wanted this game to reflect humanity's struggle against their better interests, and the moral courage that is required in characters like Mario and Luigi in fighting their own inner demons. But it turns out that is way too hard to actually analyze in an 8-bit game, and so I just kind of made it up as I went. Eventually, this game just turned into a mishmash of ideas. A lot of things were borrowed from Mario 1, and also some recurring nightmares of my childhood. Probably one of the most important design decisions I made was this world map here. This game consists of 8 different worlds, and within each of them there is a map like you see here. It's not quite linear, but it is pretty close. This gives the player the appearance of choice, but really what it comes down to is you're just heading towards that castle that is screaming for help. Now the gameplay itself is inspired a lot like Mario 1 and more classic titles like Shovel Knight and Cuphead. I brought back the signature question mark blocks, as well as the coins and mushrooms that were kind of lacking in Mario 2, so it's kind of a return to form. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure there were some very distinct parts that were 100% Retro Game Core related. And as many of you know, my cat Chicken is a very important part of this YouTube channel. And so I wanted to give homage to her within the game itself. Believe it or not, and no joking here, today is actually her birthday. She turns 14 today. And unfortunately, with every passing day, she is showing her age more and more. And so I dedicated a large portion of this game to her, and especially her kind of striped appearance. Most importantly, her striped tail, which kind of looks a little bit like a raccoon. And so, in addition to the typical fireball power-up that you can get in Mario games, I've added this new one here. I'm calling it the Chicken Suit. And this is basically a special cat suit that has a striped tail just like Chicken, and you can flip that tail in order to knock out enemies, and you can also fly if you run fast enough. There's a similar mechanic in Super Mario World with the cape, and so I decided to bring it back into this one too. Now of course Chicken can't fly, but all the same, every time that I put Mario into this suit, I think about her, and I hope you do too. Now the majority of my work was actually coming up with different level designs, and there's a ton of them here within this game. In addition to the 8 worlds that are available, each of those are going to have somewhere between 8 and 10 levels too. And you've got everything from jumping and swimming and really incredibly hard boss fights, and while there are quite a few dungeons and other difficult stages like this, I also made it a point to put in some nice and relaxing areas as well. This is meant to help you relax and maybe take your mind off the current state of the world right now. And for those who like to replay their retro games, I've added a lot of hidden secrets inside of this game. These are meant to increase the replayability of this game, but also give speedrunners something fun to play with too. I hope this one does get popular among that crowd. And so I encourage you not to play this game once, but multiple times. There's all sorts of secrets you'll find within. But this game is not for the faint of heart. It's actually fairly difficult, and I did that on purpose. With the recent success of games like Elden Ring, I thought it was time to bring back some of that difficulty into platformers. After all, the games from this era were way too easy. And so yeah, I would say this game is modeled after the spirit of those Demon Souls-like games. And probably my favorite thing about this game is that it is now considered official canon. I had a meeting with Nintendo, they were super cool about it, and they said, yes, this is now an official entry in the Mario Brothers series. It turns out their lawyers are actually super cool. And so yeah, that is an exclusive first look at Super Mario Bros. 3. Okay, that's pretty awesome, right? So, you might be wondering, how do you get your hands on one of these copies? Well, I've been working on a guerrilla ad campaign for several months now. I solicited the help of thousands of my followers and asked them to basically plant this game in various places throughout the world. And so if you go onto eBay, you'll see a bunch of listings for it. You'll even see people who have like scratched them up and stuff to make it look like an authentic NES game. But you could also go to your local pawn shop. I might have planted one there too. And of course, because this is an emulation-minded channel, I've also made ROMs readily available as well, but unfortunately I can't tell you how to get those. But I will say that Nintendo has partnered with me in this whole thing, so if you buy a Nintendo Switch online, you can actually find it there as part of their services. Anyway, that's about it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed seeing this new look at a brand new NES game. I think a lot of people are going to be excited to try out the new levels that I developed. At the end of the day, this is probably not going to be the best NES game of all time. After all, how could you ever top something like Gyromite? But all the same, I hope you enjoy this game and that you're able to find it out there in the wild. And if you're able to get a copy of this in real life, I'd love to see a picture of that. So if you want to, tag me on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. I'd just love to see how you're enjoying my creation. Anyway, that's it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you found this helpful, and we will see you next time. Happy April Fool's Day.